Okay.
All right, so we are joined from Ridgeland by one of our favorite guests, the owner of Key Assets Financial here in Ridgeland, Cynathia Cortese. Uh,
Cynathia Cortese.
Cynathia, I say her name wrong every time. I've had her 3 times and I always say her name wrong. Cynathia Cortese. We thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson, and we're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland, and Germantown, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. And we are in the business administration career cluster, going to go into the finance career cluster, and you are a huge part of both of those. Now, before we get into what all it is you do and about how an entrepreneur operates, I think it's important we talk about where you come from because you are from right up the road in Yazoo County, and your business operates right down the road in Ridgeland, and you created this business out of a necessity that you saw a need for in your community. So talk a little bit about your high school, college background and how Key Assets Financial came into being.
All right. So yes, I am originally from Yazoo County, Bentonia to be specific. It's a very, very small town, as you may know. So you kind of blink and you missed it pretty much. We don't have a lot of stores or anything like that. So I always tell people I'm from over the bridge, through the woods at grandma house. Like literally. So growing up, my mom passed away when I was 9 years old. So I did go stay with my grandmother. She raised me from then on. And we didn't talk a lot about finances. So when I went off to college, I went to the University of Southern Mississippi. I went off to college and I was just blown away about how much college cost. I was blown away about the fact that I was away from home and I still had to kind of financially support myself a little bit. So, we just didn't have those financial conversations growing up. My uncle and my grandmother did what they could for me. And I didn't miss out on a whole lot, but I felt like if I was going through this, people from back home probably had similar situations. And what I wanted to do is not only get through my college career, but I wanted to reach back and be able to educate the community that I came from, so people coming behind me wouldn't have those same experiences going off to college, because moving away from home is such a huge decision to make, and to get there and not know financially which way to go is just, it's so devastating. It can be discouraging, especially being in college as a freshman. So I decided to start a company called Key Assets Financial, where we teach individuals and business owners how to manage their personal finances and their business finances. So that's kind of a little bit background about me and how I got here.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more because I also went to Southern Miss, and it's a large school. It's easy to get overwhelmed, especially now with the cost of college even getting higher. If you're from we're a small area here in Camden, but even me going to Madison Central, it was overwhelming to me to be around so many people. It's a fast-paced life. The parents aren't there to hold your hand, and you've got to take control of it. So it is very easy to get overwhelmed with that. Now, one thing I'll talk about a lot is that entrepreneurs solve problems. You saw a problem in your community and you wanted to fix it. However, I
Yeah.
also think it's important. A lot of young people tell me they want to start their own business. They see things on Instagram, they see things on social media. And I'm a huge fan of Jasmine Sullivan, but it just irks the mess out of me. And her song, she talks about, I'm going to move to Atlanta, start a business, and I'll never be broke again. It doesn't work like that.
It
Um,
does not work
that,
like
that,
that.
yeah, and that's a great way to dream, but that's just completely false. Now, what you do, I mean, obviously, you run your own business. You have employees, you have a building, you have marketing, you have all these things you have to manage, and you help small businesses get a hold of that. Because yes, young people want to start their own business. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to work for somebody, but it does take a lot of planning on the financial side, because even if you have a great concept, you could have a great product, a great brand. If you can't manage your finances, you will be broke sooner or later.
Probably sooner rather than later, to be honest. So I totally agree with you. Entrepreneurship is not just when you first start off, a money making machine, because you have to find people who believe in your idea. You have to believe in yourself, and then you have to find the funds to fund your idea. So if you're not coming from like a background, or you haven't saved, to get this business lunch, you are going to need some type of funding. And sometimes the road can get hard, it can get strenuous, and it can get tedious and costly. So you have to make sure that you're in a position where you can, actually start your business. I see a lot of people get wrapped up in just like the fees of even like just getting the LLC, getting the website, and paying for these things on a monthly basis, because having a website and different things like that, that's like a monthly subscription, you know? So you're constantly having expenses on the front end when sometimes you haven't even made any money yet. You know, so one thing I do preach, I know we like to start businesses based on our passion, but you need to make sure also that your passion is in a need-based industry where
Absolutely.
people actually need what you do, and it's not something that you just absolutely love to do. Both of the businesses that I have are in need-based business, so people need their finances, you know, worked on or put together. People need their houses cleaned and different things like that. So just making sure you're in the industry where people actually, there's a market for what you are providing to your potential clients. That way it won't take you so long to actually generate clients to start bringing in some type of income to offset the expenses that you're going to have for running your business.
Yeah, and that also goes back to doing some market research to see what people are going to spend. One mistake that I see a lot of, especially kids coming out, because we've had some kids come out of Velma Jackson and start their own business, which I think is great. But the number one issue that I see is they're in a 16, 17-year-old mindset, and they're thinking of the budget of a 16, 17-year-old and not thinking of a 20-something-year-old that has more income. And the first thing I tell every single one of them, they already start marketing, and I'm like, you're not charging enough. You cannot
Exactly.
get in the mindset of I'm trying to be the cheapest. The mindset is to be the best. Offer the service that's better than somebody else's. That gives you the ability to charge more. So I'm sure you
Exactly.
see that a lot. So what are some things that you tell when you're looking at people's books, when you see they aren't bringing in enough revenue? What are some strategies you tell people that are making that same mistake that I see?
I would first thing I tell them is what is your value? What are you selling people? Because you have some clients that buy personality, you have some clients that buy services. And so if you reach a client that's just only buying services, they are going to go for the cheapest people, you know, out there, because you're not providing that value. You have to set yourself apart from people who are doing the same things that you are doing. So when I look at my clients' books and I see that they got more going out than they have coming in, I make them sit down and realize, like, what's your niche? Like, what are you providing, or how are you providing something that the people that's in your industry is not necessarily honing in on? Okay, if you are selling your personality, you know, you need to make sure that you're branding yourself. That way you put yourself in a position where you're not just selling products, or you're just not selling services, you're selling yourself. And when you can sell yourself to somebody, you can pretty much sell anything. You know, because they're not buying what you have, they're buying into you. You have a lot of people that say, hey, I know that Cynathia charges a lot more than so-and-so down the street, but I love her personality. I love how she's patient with me. I love how she's more organized. And that's what they are buying in from you. So when I sit down with my clients, if I see that they have their expenses are just way too high, it's only one or two things you can do. You can cut back and lower your expenses, or you can make more money. And normally we go toward making more money. So what can we do to get there is our discussion.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just a common mistake, especially for young Black business owners. Is, you know, they think they have to be cheap, and that is not the case. You can offer a better service and charge just the same as a major corporation, as long as, like you said, you can sell yourself. And I also think, I'm glad you mentioned that too about selling yourself, because even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, let's say you
Yeah,
want to be an employee, you can have an entrepreneurial mindset and be a great employee. So
exactly.
selling yourself is the biggest skill that I try to see these young people to have, because, you know, even if you don't want the responsibility and the financial risk of being an entrepreneur, having an entrepreneurial mindset is what businesses look for.
Yeah, you have industries that allow you to be a 1099 contractor, that allow you to be a W-2 employee, and you're still selling. People still come see you. So let's just, for instance, being a mortgage lender. If you're a mortgage lender for like a bank or something like that, you're still on the bank's payroll. However, you have realtors that's sending business to you. You have people that's just walking into the bank. You have like conferences you go to where people ask for your card and different things like that. Even though I still am an employee of this bank, I'm still selling my personality. I'm still selling the fact that I can get these documents in order for you and different things like that. I have a really, really great friend. She's a great mortgage lender, and she sells her personality. Like, people work with her because she's great at what she does, but she does work for, you know, a bank. So insurance agents, some of them are with captive insurance companies where they can't, like, deal with other companies or whatever, but they are 1099 contracted. And, they sell their personality, even though they can only sell one product. So people come to them based on who they are. You have to, as an entrepreneur or as a business owner or as a W-2 employee, sometimes you have to make people build like and trust in you, right? And once you get that like and trust, you can pretty much, go out to the races as far as what you're providing to their client. So it's always about making yourself a brand. Who am I? A lot of people, I was talking to someone the other day and they was like, hey, Cortese, is that your last name? And that's like, I never met anyone whose last name was Cortese. I was like, that's not my last name. A lot of people don't know my last name because I've branded myself as Cynathia Cortese. Cortese is actually just my middle name, but that's my brand. So if you see my name on something, oh, okay, Cynathia, she does X, Y, and Z, but I know if Cynathia is doing it, it's good, so.
Now, and obviously, something I really wanted to talk about is you said yourself when you were growing up in a rural community like we are here in Camden, you were not exposed to any type of financial literacy, any type of anything as far as ownership or the stock market, banking, or anything. And I think, and I can't speak for Yazoo County, but from what I know, they are kind of moving in a different direction now. And the state of Mississippi is as well, but even though we have it, a lot of kids think, oh, this is stupid. This is never going to apply to me. But it is a huge mistake you can make. You can have a great job. You can be a great employee. You can even be a great business owner. But if you're not at least somewhat familiar with these principles, it can be detrimental, or actually it will be detrimental to you as you grow older, because what kids don't realize, you can start saving for retirement at 18. And you don't just magically retire one day. Me and my grandparents, your grandparents, they could depend on Social Security a lot more than we're going to be able to, because my grandparents, they lived to be in their 90s, and they were saying, yeah, Social Security, this, that, and the third, and that's great for people that were born in the 1920s, but that's not going to be the case for the people that are alive today and still working. So I think it's important, you can retire at a certain age, but if you're not saving for retirement, you're going to be working till you're 75 years old. So
that's right.
Yeah. So, so talk a little bit about that, because, even if somebody don't want to be an entrepreneur, if they don't want to work in any type of financial industry, that's fine. But they need to be aware of why they need to look at these financial services, because, and saving for retirement, because it can be life-changing.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. That's a great topic. What people don't understand is I see this post on social media all the time. Like, I really wish that they would change the retirement age so I can retire tomorrow. Well, what people don't realize, retirement is not an age, it's an amount of money, right? So you can retire tomorrow if you want to, but are you going to still be able to live month to month comfortably, right? So with that being said, I think them moving financial literacy into high schools or into junior highs at this point is just profound, simply because because kids are asking questions now. They're seeing the YouTube videos, they're seeing the Instagram feeds, they're seeing Facebook, they're seeing this financial knowledge being put out there, but they're wondering why aren't we learning this in school if it's just so significant and it's so important and we can make such and such amount of money? Why aren't we learning it? So children are starting to ask questions now. Now, the thing about it is one thing to learn the information, but if you don't apply the information, this is just, it does you absolutely no good. So I think honing in and understanding like the compounded interest and how it works. So I know everybody has a cell phone. If you just take the time today and just download the compound interest calculator, it will tell you, if you say, okay, when I get ready to retire, I want to have, let's just say $500,000, right? Okay, so you can put in that compounded interest, how much money you need to, compounded interest calculator, how much money you need to save on a month-to-month basis at the age that you want to retire at to get that $500,000. And I just think it's so important to be able to paint a picture of what I need to do and actually be able to see it. I tell people all the time where you're creating like vision boards. So I tell my clients like, hey, if you got an income goal, take it to your steering wheel, put it on your mirror, like different things like that to keep it in front of you. And that kind of motivates you to do what you're supposed to do on a daily basis to reach those goals. But yeah, savings for retirement, listen, they're already using the money that we're putting in now for Social Security, they're already using it now. So it's not 100%, it's not even 50% guaranteed at this point that we're going to have Social Security once we get to retirement age. right? Which is like 69 and a half. And I really think they changed that number since the last time I checked, right? So with that being said, if you decide to that you're going to go on and you are going to find a career being, you know, working with another company and not being an entrepreneur, ask your company, do they offer deferred comp? Ask your company, do they offer a Roth option, you know, within your 401k? It's just so many different financial principles and vehicles that you can use to get to your goal, no matter what career path you decide to take. So educate yourself, watch the videos, like ask the questions, because sometimes we ask questions that other people want to ask that are afraid to ask, but everybody ends up learning, you know, at the end of it. So
Yeah,
that's pretty much my take on it.
I'm far from a financial expert, but a few things that I do know that I will stick by is that if you're working for a company, even part-time, and you're not putting in at least the maximum amount that they will match every month,
Oh,
you are absolutely outside of your mind, because
that's free money.
that is
That
free
is
money.
free money. And then
a lot of these major corporations will offer that.
yeah, and then to piggyback on that, you also need to know, when are you fully vested in that company? A lot of people will leave a job a year before they're fully vested, and if you're not fully vested, sometimes you don't get to take all that money with you that they have put in on your behalf. So one, if they are matching dollar for dollar, you put up to the dollar that they are matching, because that is free money that you ain't have to work for, that your employer is giving to you, right? And then ask them, hey, how many years I have to be here to be fully vested? That way, if you do get another career opportunity, you will know how much money you get to take with you. A third part to that is, when you leave a job, take your money with you. And that, I'm not saying redeem the money from the broker or financial institution. What I'm saying is making sure that you have an outside plan, an outside traditional IRA with the company, so you can roll that money into it. Because a lot of things that get people when they leave a job are management fees, and they don't realize they're still being charged for the money that's still at that institution. So take your money with you, roll it over into an outside traditional IRA. You can get that. I don't necessarily recommend it through the bank, but the bank is an option. But you can go to companies like Fidelity, you can go to American Funds, and they will open those vehicles for you. And you can, every time you leave a job, you can roll that money into that one vehicle. That way you always know where your money is. Fourth part to that is making sure you have a beneficiary on those accounts. Your bank account should have a beneficiary. Your investment should have a beneficiary. That way, if something were to happen to you, Lord forbids, you know where your money is going, right? We don't want our money to go to estate and have to pay estate taxes and all that stuff like that. So yeah, that's a rabbit hole, but all of it is meaningful.
Hey, but again, even though I've got 9th to 11th graders here with me, that's something, that's coming up soon, especially for kids that don't want to go to college and they want to go straight to work. That's fine. We aren't discouraging that, but especially, if you want to start working in the manufacturing, trade industry, truck driving, anything like that, by all means, we encourage kids to follow what they're good at. But you can't just be, trying to have the biggest check and balling out at 19 years old. You can start, you can and should start saving for that retirement now. And then, and being a state employee myself, I mean, I'm not putting away a ton, but that deferred compensation you talked about, you don't even miss that money. And it's a little bit a month.
And it's tax deductible.
Yeah.
So that's another huge one.
Yeah. And again, and before I get to the students' questions, another thing that I didn't even realize until I started having these guests is that most entrepreneurs are at least working part-time jobs or vice versa because of the benefits that are available. Because, I know you're a full-time entrepreneur and that's really all you do, but you did not start out like that. And most entrepreneurs do not. So a lot of kids think, well, if I'm an entrepreneur, I got to jump full scale into it. You really don't. You can still have a full-time job, still get your benefits, still keep your insurance while you're building your business. And then if your business is successful enough, you can step away at least to a certain extent before you go to that full financial risk.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves in debt because they decided to jump out too soon. And like I said, that leads back to social media is such an influence in a lot of people's lives right now, where they feel like they have to, like they're almost forced to. You don't. The beauty of building a business is you have options, right? So long as you're working a W-2 job or you're with an employer, as long as it's not a conflict of interest, you can build your business and work at the same time. That way you're not stressed out, you have steady income, and when you do work on your business, you can work on your business in peace, right? Versus I gotta get this client or I gotta grab this low-hanging fruit and compromise the fact that I am valuable and my prices should reflect that, right? You don't want to have to do that when you're trying to build your business. So yes, keep your job and build your business if that's the route that you need to go to be comfortable.
Yeah, and a great example of that, another friend of our class is Dr. Tammy Simpson at Jackson State. She teaches biology at Jackson State full-time, but she also owns the luxury hair company, which is shipping on Walmart.com and has customers worldwide. So she's running a hair business that has got billboards all over the country, but she's got a full-time job at Jackson State and still keeps her state benefits. So that's a perfect example of somebody, doing exactly what you just said.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't do what's best for you, especially when it comes to your livelihood.
Yeah, so I got some questions from the students, and these are great. So I'm gonna get as many of these as I can. This first one is Christian Mitchell. She's a junior, and she asked, "What is your key motivation to be? What was your key motivation to become an entrepreneur?"
So my key motivation to become an entrepreneur was the fact that I wanted to be in a position where if my family needed me, I could be there. As I told you guys earlier, my mom passed away when I was 9, and my grandmother raised me. And as I grew older, my grandmother had given me pretty much everything she could possibly give me. So when I got ready to go off to college and different things like that, I knew that she was of age and she was gonna probably need me a little bit more, at that point that I could probably need her, So I wanted to be able to have the flexibility that when she called, I didn't have to ask anybody if I could go or what time I could go. I wanted to be able to just go. And then as I went throughout my college career, I ended up, getting married and having a baby, right? So I was like, oh, I know for a fact if somebody tell me I can't go and be with my child or stay at home with my child, it's gonna be a problem. So with that being said, that was another motivation for me where I have to have a schedule where it's flexible and that I can control. So initially that was my first instinct of being an entrepreneur. And then when I saw the fact that my community needed the things that I had learned, and I knew that if they weren't getting it coming from the school that I came from, because they wasn't teaching it, to be honest, I knew then that other people could probably advance more in their lives if I just decided to teach what I had learned. So that's pretty much what it motivated me to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because as hard as it is to be an entrepreneur, that is the key pro, is you do set your own hours, especially if you have a family, you can make time for that. And when you're setting the hours, you can make them whenever you want.
Yep.
So that is a key pro. This is DeKayla Williamson, one of our cheerleaders here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, how does your business look different now than when it first started?
So when I first started my business, I had no business, just nothing, y'all. Like, truthfully, I was just doing what I love. I didn't have the payment processes in place. I didn't have the systems in place. The apps that I could have used to make it a whole lot smoother, look a whole lot better. I wasn't doing it. Everything was kind of basic, and I was just teaching, So now we are very, very structured. Everything has a system. Everything has a place. I have staff now that comes in every day and help me with certain tasks. So it's 100% different at this point. And since I started this business, I started another business, and the difference is I've been able to take what I learned from running key assets and putting it over here to not starting from the bottom with my next business, but starting from experience. I already knew I needed a payment processor. I already knew I needed systems. I needed staff. I needed email addresses. I needed a website. So the thing about being an entrepreneur, you don't know everything going in, right? You learn as you go. So nobody handed me a handbook. It's literally just experiences. So it looks totally different from when I started.
That's awesome. This is Rashunta Pierce, one of our basketball players here at Velma Jackson, and she asked, where do you see your business growing in 5 years?
Ooh, So I actually see the financial firm turning into a training center, maybe for interns that's looking, who need like intern hours, if they're
Wow.
like in accounting or and just getting their MBA, just being able to come in, get those hours, get experience with working with real clients on real situations. Whether they're going into a career field or they're going to be an entrepreneur and starting their own business, we just want to turn this office into a training center for them to be able to get the experience that they need. I guess as far as the other company, I have a cleaning company. So that company was built to pretty much provide opportunity to people who needed a flexible schedule. So we're talking about single moms, people who are retired, that don't want to go and work a strenuous job, but they want to still make some type of income to kind of compensate for, compensate along with their disability benefits and stuff like that. So I just see that continually just rolling. Honestly, I think as the world begins to grow and open up, evolve or whatnot, people are going to be looking for a little bit more flexibility in their schedule. So I'm going to continue, doing that.
That's awesome. And there's definitely going to be a need for that, especially with the growth of entrepreneurial education. There's going to be a huge need for that. So again, it goes back to your need-based business.
Yeah, need-based.
This is a great question. I never thought about this. This is Lakiera Jackson, and she asked, do you have a routine you follow each day as an entrepreneur?
I have a tentative routine. So it's always subject to change, but this is my thing. So every morning I probably wake up around 5, between 5 and 6:30, 7 is my time. Okay. And for some reason I say 5 because my body just automatically wakes up. My brain wakes up, right? So it's turning. So I take that time to spend time with God. I take that time to kind of just think through my day, what I want, what I need. It's just kind of all about me and God, pretty much. I get my daughter off to school probably about 7:10, before 7:30. And then after that, I'm coming to the office. I'm checking emails. I'm looking at my appointments for the day. I'm looking at the cleaning schedule to make sure it's where it needs to be. I'm just kind of doing back office stuff. My admins come in around 8:30 to 9, like 8:30 or 9 o'clock each day. So we're probably brainstorming. They're working on their work. So that's pretty much what I'm doing from like 7:30 to 2. I'm kind of like at the office just working on whatever my task is for the day. I pick my daughter up between 2:30 and 3:30, depending on if she has tutoring. We have our time, whatever that family time looks like at home, and she's winding down for bed at probably 8:39, and then I'm probably working on something for the next day before I go to sleep. So that's like my schedule.
That's awesome. But the fact that but people don't understand the fact that the benefit mentally that having a routine as close as you can have to one really helps. Even though being an entrepreneur is different every day, having that mental routine really prepares you for things. I just got 2 more. This is Rashawn Smith. He's a sophomore, and he asked, is owning your own business stressful, and what causes the stress when it comes?
Oh, that's a good question. So yes, to be totally transparent, sometimes it is a little stressful. But it's only stressful when things don't go the way that you think that they should go. I'm not a perfectionist, but I have an ideal of how I want things done, how I want things ran. So I think the most stress comes to me is like, that doesn't look right. Or if a client has an experience with me that I don't like the experience that they had, they may have been fine, but I didn't like it. So I'll go back and I'll change system after system after system. There's no system that you can put in place that's the best system. Okay. So things are constantly changing, things are constantly evolving. So I think that I probably bring on majority of my stress just being, who I am. And then hitting your financial goals. You got to think about it as an entrepreneur. It looks very glamorous on social media. However, you got to hit your financial goals to be able to stay in business.
Like, you're the last one to get paid.
You're the last one to get paid. That's a huge one, because even though you have business bills, you also have personal bills. And that just goes back to people that's jumping out too quick and want to quit their jobs. You have to make sure it's conducive for your livelihood, right? So you are the last person to get paid, no matter what. I think a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong when they first start a business because they spend the money that they make not realizing it's not their money. That's the business's money. Okay. So yeah, I think that those would be my two stresses. Just me wanting things to look how I think that they should look, and then making sure the business is hitting their financial goals.
Absolutely. It's got one more from the students. This is Gabriel G. He's a junior, And I know you talked a little bit about this, but he asked, what was the number one uh, obstacle in your life that has motivated you to be where you are?
Okay, so we talked about my grandmother, we talked about my child. However, when you get to a certain point in your life, it's like I'm so far in that if I turn back now, I feel like everything's just gonna just go in vain. So I think my number one motivator right now is just continually believing in me. You know, when you first start a business, sometimes people are very excited for you. When, once all of that died down, all that excitement died down, on days you don't feel like you're not the bid, on days you just frustrated and you don't know which way to go, on days you're just begging like, somebody please, like, give me a mentor or something. I've taken myself as far as I can go. You turn around and be like, God, I know you got me here for a purpose, and I got to fulfill my purpose. When it's time for me to move on, I know you will, put me somewhere else, but right now you still have me here. So I have to have that same belief in myself to just keep going. So right now in this season where I am in business, is believing in me that I can finish this race. Like,
Yeah,
I can do this.
absolutely.
Like,
And we're almost out of time, and we thank you for joining us as always. And that's a great segue to the last thing I want to talk about is like we are here in Camden, you grew up in a rural community here in Mississippi as a young Black girl without one of your parents,
right.
raised by your grandparents, which is an obstacle in itself, but yet you've become a successful double entrepreneur, and just the not even close to where to the end of what you're gonna accomplish. But obviously, with it being Black History Month, we really want to focus on the need for more Black business owners in our metro area. So even if these kids want to move to Atlanta or Dallas or LA or Chicago, or they want to stay right here, why should they really consider becoming an entrepreneur, even if it's a part-time entrepreneur? Because small business here in the Jackson area really needs them.
Yeah. So you want to know, why should they become an entrepreneur here in Mississippi? Stay here, stay home. I think that what I've heard from talking to entrepreneur friends, they feel like they can't succeed in such a small state, or a state that's just considered still behind. But like I tell you, it's like millions of people that live here, and people need what you do. And you don't have to move to another state to be a light. You can be a light right where you are. And I think that the first place we should always give back to is where we're from. No matter if you had a good experience here or a bad experience here, it has made you who you are today. So there's no real reason why you should get up and run from your roots. So I think if you're going to start an entrepreneur journey here, start with the people who are from the same background you are from, and try to help home. You can always branch out. I started both businesses here, but we have branched out to Houston. I don't live in Houston though, so I'm here. I'm here until God leads me somewhere else. So as an entrepreneur, you think about starting a business, whatever that business is, give back to home first. Let home be first, because you wouldn't be where you are without home.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, obviously, if somebody is looking to file some taxes, they want to start their own business, get some financial advice, tell us where we can find your office and where we can find you online.
Okay, so we're located in Ridgeland. It's 735 Avenue Drive, Suite 1. It's on Lake Harbor Road, in between Trustmark and Reynolds Bank, in the Avenue Parks building. So you can actually see us from Lake Harbor or whatever. Our phone number is 601-707-5629. And you can visit our website at www.keyassetsfinancial.com.
Well, again, thank you so much for taking some time for us, especially during your busy time. It's just so inspiring to hear all the things you're doing. And I know the sky's the limit for you. So again, Cynathia Cortese, I got her name right this time, joining us.
Yes!
Key Assets Financial, just such a great story. So I'll talk to you soon, friend.
All right, next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.